I played softball through college. I went to Boston University, but I developed this feel of the game and just this love of everything that took place on the field. I loved the balance of offense and defense, and like there's nothing better than hitting a home run. And on the other hand, like if I had the choice, I would just take ground balls all day long. Like I love the defensive side of things. I love the individual nature of softball and how you have these 9 different people on the field that have to come together in order to accomplish a goal. I just think that it's between softball and baseball, diamond sports in general, I think are some of the most powerful sports out there because of the relationship to failure. The best hitters are going to fail 7 out of 10 times is a very, very common thing that you hear. It's so true, you know, to be able to look at what you have been doing well and what you can improve upon and just learn how to fail, I think was always so powerful for me when it came to softball. And I really believe in just curiosity and learning. And that's what I really try to help define every day of my life. I am a mother. I have a 5.5-year-old daughter who is absolutely incredible, and I'm a wife. My husband is just absolutely incredible and so supportive on this coaching journey. And finally, I'm a coach. I just finished up my 5th year coaching high school softball at Grandview High School, and we're just trying to make this next generation of athletes that much better.
I don't know if you saw me, I was reacting like, yes, I am a recovering people
Yes,
pleaser.
yes.
I'm a 2 wing 3 empath. So
Oh,
I literally get energy by serving others. And when I feel like I let someone down, I am just distraught the whole day.
oh my
And
God.
it may not even in real.
Yeah. So how do you deal with that? I am the same way. Like, what do you do? How do you deal with those
I had to get a
emotions?
coach. I had to get multiple coaches to help me figure this out.
I think anything just involving coaching and finding other people's strengths, realizing your own strengths, and kind of how that all works to help everybody achieve more, I think is kind of where my mind kept going. She goes, you know, it's tough to be a mom and it's tough to be a coach, but you got to find a way to do it. The words that she said were, I'm an above average coach. I'm an above average mom. I'm an okay wife. and that's okay for right now.
But they talk about being in the zone. Was it like for you in that moment to be in that zone? Like, what is that? That feels like to me like the closest we can pick to being superpowers. Like, what does that feel like?
Yeah, it's so honestly, it feels like nothing. And that's the hardest part about what we call the zone is it feels like nothing. Like I remember hitting these home runs where I never even felt the ball leave the bat. Like it just felt like nothing. Everything just aligned. Everything was seamless. It just was effortless. You know, we all chase the zone. That's great. You should perform as best as you can when you're in the zone. But when you aren't and you find a way to perform, that's, I think, even more incredible.
And may I say, your aura, energy levels is like, whoop, yes,
Thank
we
you.
need this. If we're in
Thank
the
you.
morning, whenever we're watching or listening, if you're in the morning or in the evening, you're like, I need that pick me up. Is it authentically you or is this caffeine? Like,
No, it
where's the
is.
range on this?
It is authentically me. I mean, I did just finish my cup of coffee, but and I use French press because that's, you know,
Yeah.
gives you the
Yeah.
biggest jolt.
High
Um,
class, high class.
it's Costco beans, but I don't ever try to do something halfway. I really try to jump into something with my whole heart, and I find that energy and enthusiasm tends to go along with that. So if I'm going to do something, I'm going to do something.
Better tell them. Better tell them what it is.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
let's just
Yeah.
trying to get loose, just as I always like to say, we got another good one for you on today on Coaching Corner with Coach Liz Carter. Welcome. One, how are you doing? And two, tell us a fun fact about yourself.
I am fantastic. Thank you so much, Troy. Fun fact about myself. Let's go with the best concert I ever went to was I got to see Prince perform in 2013, I think. It might have been 2014 in a 1,500 person venue. I was 50 feet away from him and it was the greatest experience of my life. So that's something I always like to hang my hat on. At least I got to see Prince.
Was not on my bingo card for this interview, and I'm so glad you shared that. Wow, that had to be a magical moment
It
for
was
sure.
absolutely incredible. He was the best musician ever, I think, and I will definitely go to bat for that because I think Prince was absolutely amazing.
Ooh, okay. From Prince to Liz. when it comes to Liz, what is the one thing you want people to know? And I mean, know from like the perspective of like, here's how I want you to see me as me.
So the biggest thing about me is I tend to be very multidimensional. Whether it's talking about prints or talking about movies or quoting movies, one of my prerequisites for one of my assistant coaches positions was that you have to be able to speak in movie quote. I love to experience different things, and I really believe in just curiosity and learning. And that's what I really try to help define every day of my life. I am a mother. I have a 5.5-year-old daughter who is absolutely incredible and who I have hopefully helped to make and continue to make her as curious as possible. I'm a wife. My husband is just absolutely incredible and so supportive on this coaching journey. And finally, I'm a coach. I just finished up my 5th year coaching high school softball at Grandview High School, and a completely different career than what I had before. I played softball through college. I went to Boston University and then tried coaching a little bit after I graduated, but then, life gets in the way and you want to make some money and you want to, develop a career. And I really wanted to be in pro sports. So I went back to school and got my MBA from the University of Denver. And then once I graduated, was in the corporate world for almost 5 years before I was like, oh, I don't like this. I want to go back into sports. And so that's what I've been doing ever since. And it's quite a career change. You don't meet many high school coaches with MBAs. Fortunately, my business partner also, we met in grad school. So she's also a high school coach with an MBA. And, most of them are trying to, make as much money as possible and everything you learn in business school. And we're just trying to make this next generation of athletes that much better. So very long-winded answer to say I'm very multidimensional.
We are pro multi-potentialite on this show.
Love it.
I am multi-potentialite. We wear all of our different identities. We will get to you and your business partner because you both are multi-potential.
Mhm.
So we're really excited about that. You shared so many things here, and I want the audience to understand immediately right away. And this is what I'm gonna do with a lot of the different coaches is that you can tell a real one from a fake one. You are coming up so authentic and transparent. I'm not going to talk above anyone. I'm not going to create a facade. This is just really me. And I think for those who are maybe hesitant about working with coaches or exploring how they can help guide you on your journey, whether as an athlete or as a person, you need to connect with someone. And the easiest way to do that, show yourself friendly, show yourself vulnerable, show yourself fun. So we appreciate that you just demonstrated that so gracefully in like 2 minutes. So
Thank you.
kudos to you.
And that's what it's really all about, that level of authenticity. If you're not able to create a relationship with somebody or connect with somebody on a different level, they're never going to pay attention to what you're trying to get them to do on the field. That's something that has been honestly really difficult for me to learn. I am a recovering perfectionist and I am a recovering people pleaser. And when I first got into, especially my head coaching role, I thought I needed to know all the answers. I thought I needed to know everything. I needed to do everything. I really had that breakthrough when I first realized, like, wait a second, that's not right at all. And me trying to put on this air that I have it all together, or that I know everything, is actually making people not want to play for me. And hopefully it's something that I try to do every single day with every relationship that I have, is really just try to be authentic and try to, create that personal connection.
I don't know if you saw me. I was reacting like, yes, I am a recovering people
Yes.
pleaser.
Yes.
I'm a 2 wing 3 empath. So
Oh,
I literally get energy by serving others. And when I feel like I let someone down, I am just distraught the whole day.
oh my
And
God.
it may not even in real.
Yeah. So how do you deal with that? I am the same way. Like, what do you do? How do you deal with those
I had to get a
emotions?
coach. I had to get multiple coaches to help me figure this out. And honestly, to this day, it's still something it's the stories we tell ourselves.
Oh, yes.
And I know you guide many of your athletes and many of your people clients through these things of like, there's reality and there's our warped reality of what we interpret things to be that may not actually be the case, but then that triggers our behaviors and our habits and our tendencies, impacts our performance. All because we didn't release it and ask questions or ask someone else, a mentor or coach, hey, what are you seeing? Am I really this bad or I'm just having a bad day?
Yeah.
Big difference between you're just having a bad game, just having a bad day. You're not a bad person.
Yep.
We can improve and optimize. Let me switch gears. I really want to get to this really quick because when we first joined and we were figuring things out and we're in the green room and now we're here now, you had an aura about yourself that immediately it didn't matter. We just felt comfortable.
Oh, thank
Is
you.
that something you are taught as a coach to how to create that aura that in silence so you feel comfortable, or is that something you developed over time?
That's a great question. I don't know. And maybe that goes back to being, a people pleaser and trying to make everybody happy. But I think really I have noticed it in myself coming the last few years. And maybe it's just being a mother and being, so vulnerable and out of control and everything else in my life in the best way possible. But I feel like I have developed a level of comfort in myself and who I am that has really just come through. And I think that's what it is. I think like when you lose that much control, and I don't know if you have children, but when you have this little being who you now are responsible for, and oh my gosh, what if I break her? Like, what do I just so much out of control. You tend to develop a level of comfort with yourself. I think that that's really come with age and just being appreciative for every single experience that I've had and grateful for every single person I've come in contact with. I really try to not take anything for granted. And honestly, maybe it's COVID because COVID was really hard for me. I love talking to people. I love having that personal interaction when we were taken away from it. My family, we took it really seriously. My daughter had a kidney condition. And when COVID first came out and it was this vascular disease that we were terrified, my daughter was a year and a half and we just were so scared. And so we kept our distance from people. And I found that I missed that so much. On the other hand, I was very grateful because our unit of three became closer than I think that we ever probably would have if we didn't have that time together. But I really missed those personal connections. And I found that ever since COVID, it became so much easier to talk to people. And just, when you have something taken away, it's that much better when it comes back.
As we get further away from 2020, and if you want to call it a canon event, for those who are Marvel fans, you already know what I'm talking about. It required us to sit in the moment and
Mhm.
realize what's the most important to us.
Yeah.
And even though that was a very hard time for me as an extrovert, that I couldn't go and see
Right.
people and hug people, and at the same time, it forced me to deal with some things and reflect on myself. And it seems like you've had plenty of time to learn how to love yourself and appreciate who you are, which allows you to show up as your best self to serve others, which is like Super Saiyan level for a coach. If I can bring these two things together, so that is dynamic. If we can think about this in chapters,
Mhm.
you as the athlete, you as the wife, you as the mother, and you as the coach. Rewind time and go back to when you were the athlete. Walk us through that journey of the evolution of you as an athlete, and what was your pinnacle moment that you remember?
Oh, it's so much fun to go back and think about my playing career. I have three older brothers and they all played baseball and I only wanted to play baseball. I would play baseball in the backyard every minute of every single day and it was my favorite thing to do. I would play hard and then I'm also very tall, so I'm 6'1". And then I found myself when I would play with kids that were my age that were much shorter than I am, I immediately reverted back to I don't want to hurt them. I could destroy you right now. And I didn't, so I had to learn that balance first of all. But I always wanted to play baseball. And my dad was like, okay, let's do it. So he took me down to the Little League office and the guy who was in charge of Aurora Little League or something said, oh no. You want her to play softball. So my dad was like, okay, cool, let's play softball. I always played baseball, but well, let's go with softball. So for whatever reason that was, I mean, we could have a lot of discussions about why he told me that I needed to play softball over baseball, but that's another conversation. I embarked on this journey of playing softball. So I started on a team when I was 9 years old and just tried to find my footing and tried to, figure out what made me really good as an athlete other than the obvious. I told you that I'm tall, I'm left-handed. So first base was a natural fit. I started to take pitching lessons and learned how to pitch and developed this feel of the game that is almost second nature to me. And honestly, it's hard for me to coach it, the feel of the game piece, because it came so naturally to me. The best coaches are the ones who really kind of had to struggle at something to have to learn something. Even now, I'm 40 years old. I'll go out on a field and I'll just remember how I did something and I'm like, yeah, just do that. First baseman, just do that. You can get that, right? It never works. But I developed this feel of the game and just this love of everything that took place on the field. I loved the balance of offense and defense. And there's nothing better than hitting a home run. And on the other hand, if I had the choice, I would just take ground balls all day long. I love the defensive side of things. I love the individual nature of softball and how you have these 9 different people on the field that have to come together in order to accomplish a goal. I just think that it's between softball and baseball, diamond sports in general, I think are some of the most powerful sports out there because of the relationship to failure. The best hitters are going to fail 7 out of 10 times is a very, very common thing that you hear. It's so true, to be able to look at what you have been doing well and what you can improve upon and just learn how to fail, I think was always so powerful for me when it came to softball. Also, it added in a whole other level of anxiety and stressors that I don't know if I would have had otherwise. But when I was being recruited, I remember just as a high school kid, I grew up before the age of social media. So it was very different than what these athletes have to deal with now. But to put myself out there and be like, yes, I want to go to your school. Can I please play for you? And a coach being like, no, we don't need you. We already have a first baseman committed, or we're good, was really hard for me. When I finally made it through my recruiting journey and I had all my recruiting visits set up, and then I remember I took my trip to Boston and I took a red eye and I landed at Logan Airport. I think it was like 5:30 in the morning. It was so early, but the sun was just starting to come up and you could see just the red sky and the clouds, and there were lighthouses over the harbor, and I just remember looking out the plane window being like, oh, this is where I have to go to school. Like, I have to go to school here. Had an amazing visit. And then I came home and I told my parents, I was like, I'm going to Boston. I'm in Aurora, Colorado. So my dad was like, so you mean to tell me that you're going to go 2,000 miles away from home to go to school? And I was like, yep, that's what I'm doing. And they were like, oh, well, we weren't expecting this. So they had to deal with all of that. But it turned out to be an incredible 4 years. And being so far away from my family was the best thing for me because it helped me develop a sense of independence. But it also made me grow closer to them. So I would call my mom on the way to classes. I had a 30-minute walk to class. So I'd call my mom and we just talked the entire time. And it was just such a fun experience to be that far away, but also that close. And then to be able to play softball on top of it. We played over the last few years. Ashley Waters at Boston University, the BU coach, has really done so much to bring that program to the level that it is and the level that it always has been. We were this little scrappy team that people would be like, Boston University, who are you guys? And then, my freshman year, we make it to NCAA regionals. And my sophomore year, we're playing at the University of Arizona against South Florida, Stanford, University of Arizona, and Oklahoma State. And then here's like Boston University, and people were like, wait, what? Who are these girls? And to be able to compete on that same level and be able to play against them and turn some heads was a really, really cool experience. So I love being in that underdog role. I think that's really cool. And it was great to be able to play there in college. You asked about my pinnacle moment. I think my favorite moment, that I'm really glad I get to talk about this because I've never really been able to find the best avenue for it. And you'll understand why in a second. In 2004, when Jason Giambi, whom I'm eternally grateful for, he admitted to doing steroids. And every stadium he played in, they would do this Balco cheer because that was the company that he'd gotten the steroids from. And they would just mercilessly just yell, Balco, Balco. And I can't imagine what he was going through in those moments. But that same year, we were playing at the University of Maine. We were playing a doubleheader and I had gone like 3 for 4 with 3 home runs, just was absolutely demolishing the ball. And one of my last at bats, they started doing the Balco cheer for me. And I was like, this is the coolest thing ever. And I'm never going to be able to tell Jason Giambi about that because first of all, I don't know him, but it's the worst moment of his life. But in that came one of the coolest moments of my life. And that's one of my favorite stories to tell anybody who asks me about, like, so what was it like to, play in college, or what was it like to hit so many home runs or something like that? It was quite an experience for me to be able to play at the collegiate level. And I'm so grateful for every experience that I had, every teammate that I played with, every coach I played for each one of them has had an impact on who I am as a person and who I am as a coach.
May I just say, I mean, you just need to just record yourself telling these stories because you was so descriptive and vivid. I'm like, it's showing above the screen, the
Thank you.
red clouds. I was like, yes, take us there. The wind was at 13 degrees. Like, let's go. I want to stay right there. I've heard many athletes talk about describing to their best abilities what it feels like to be in the zone. I think back to when they asked Freddie Freeman, what did it feel like to be in the zone for him with the World Series and the Dodgers? Sorry for those who are Yankees fans or other fans. We apologize in advance to remind you of that, but I digress. But they talk about being in the zone. What was it like for you in that moment to be in that zone. Like, what is that? That feels like to me like the closest we can get to being superpowers. Like, what does that feel like?
Yeah. It's so honestly, it feels like nothing. And that's the hardest part about what we call the zone is it feels like nothing. Like I remember hitting these home runs where I never even felt the ball leave the bat. Like it just felt like nothing. Everything just aligned, everything was seamless. It just was effortless. And it's such an incredible experience to be able to feel that. But I think even better are those moments when you're not in the zone, when you are either too high or too low and you're struggling to get back in that spot where you know that you're performing best and you find a way to come through to deal with that adversity of everything not being perfect, of not feeling great, or of something doesn't happen. Maybe somebody said something to you or anything and you find a way to perform. I think that those are the moments that are even better. You know, we all chase the zone. That's great. You should perform as best as you can when you're in the zone. But when you aren't and you find a way to perform, that's I think even more incredible. To be able to find success when you're in such a feeling of discomfort, I think is even better.
You know what I love about sports, besides watching it and experiencing it and cheering for your favorite teams, is that for some reason, when you need to describe anything else as an analogy to correlate with life, sports has you covered. It doesn't matter
Mhm.
what you're experiencing. There's some type of literal
Yep.
reference we can call out
Yeah.
to and be like, that describes your moment. That's describe how it feels and things like that. And I love that. I absolutely love that. Going from being into the zone as an athlete to what appears to be being in the zone as a coach, as a wife, as a mother, like how do you balance that? I can be these things and it's not a or. I can do multi-potential things and just make it fit my life. As we're seeing women's sports coming up, women entrepreneurs making the things much better for us for full equality. I just want to ask in that now, how do you balance all these different things? And is there any insights or things you've learned that help you do these things?
Yes, it's difficult, but it's difficult for everybody. It's hard for me to say that my journey is more difficult because I have a daughter than somebody else who doesn't have a child. It's everybody's journey is different, and I think that everybody's journey has so much. We need to approach everybody's journey with respect and grace. I went to a conference a couple of years ago. I was speaking to the University of Central Florida coach. It's funny. I talked to her about something completely different than where our conversation ended up. You know, she has 3 young kids, and she just said, "You've just got to stay in it. You've just got to keep rocking it." And I was like, "How did you know that that's what I needed to hear? Because we weren't talking about that at all." And she goes, "You know, it's tough to be a mom and it's tough to be a coach, but you got to find a way to do it." The words that she said were, "I'm an above average coach. I'm an above average mom. I'm an okay wife." And that's okay for right now. And that's what I try to remind myself every day is what can I be really good at today? What do I need to kind of sacrifice a little bit? And how can I make that sacrifice easier for everyone? You know, when my daughter started kindergarten this year, her first day of school, I picked her up, I brought her home, I handed her off to a grandmother and said, "Okay, I've got practice. Hope your first day of school was great." It's all about trying to figure out, you know, what can I pull from in order to add more to there. So when I get home from practice, I have to put my phone away because I will get text messages, I'll get emails from things that don't need to be taken care of in that moment. They can wait. What can't wait is I have a little girl who's been waiting hours to spend time with me. She needs all my focus. She needs my undivided attention. So what can I do to help make that easier for her? I will say that I have a mother and a mother-in-law who are within 15 minutes of my house. I have a lot of family around who make it so much easier for me to be able to coach and be able to spend that time outside of the house. And I'm so grateful for them. It's something that I don't know if I would be able to coach if I didn't have all of that support outside of those external family members. And then my husband we talk about coaching widows. You know, during the season, your spouse just loses you for a little bit. And it's never easy to do that. It's also never easy when, in addition to not having your wife around, you also have to take care of a child who is demanding and precocious and curious and just absolutely incredible. But she can be a lot. And my husband just deals with it seamlessly. I'm so grateful for him and everything that he has done to help me achieve the levels that I have as a coach. It really does take a village, and I'm so grateful for the people who are in my village who make it all possible.
I'm going to insert a lame dad joke. Sounds like you have a great team. We're just going to act like that didn't happen. But shout out to the Hubs. I want to get intimate for a moment on Does the love change as you're an athlete, as you transition into a coach, or is there a different level for appreciation for the game that you once played directly that you're coaching indirectly? How does that dynamic work for you?
Oh, that's a great way of putting it. I think that as an athlete, especially when when you're on a full scholarship and it's essentially your job, it becomes a little bit more of a slog. It becomes this obligation that okay, well, I've got to be at lift at 6 o'clock in the morning, and then I've got to go to class, and then I've got practice, and then what do I have to do after that? I've got to do homework, I've got a test tomorrow, whatever it is. It definitely can become a little bit more of an obligation, particularly when you're in the thick of it, and it can be hard. And then I remember the last game of my senior year when it was like, oh, wait, but where does it go? I've spent the last 11 years of my life playing softball practically every single day. What do I do now? And I think we've started to dive into a little bit more of that absence of, it's like losing a limb. Like I was lost for a little bit. What do I do? I've spent so much time being told where to go and, told the expectations of me. And now I just have this whole world that I can do whatever I want to in. And it was a lot for me to go from being a full-time athlete to not. I think it took some time away from the game for me to realize how much I missed it. My family, I say this lovingly, we're insane about baseball. I told you all three of my brothers play baseball. Like it is our guiding light of our family. My parents met at a baseball game. I was at a baseball game when I was 10 days old. Like it's a part of who I am. When my nephew Jack started playing baseball, it was, everybody just kind of went to his games, and, he's like a 7-year-old kid and he's got like his own cheering section. It was absolutely hilarious. I would watch him play and I wasn't coaching at the time. And it was just like, I just got that bug. They always talk about the coaching bug, and I caught it, and it was like, wait, I can do this. I'm very proud of what I accomplished as an athlete, but I have things that I can give to this game. And I started doing private lessons. I would give pitching lessons and hitting lessons after work. So I was working this fancy corporate job. I would go from 8 o'clock, and then I would leave the office at 5 o'clock, and I would run to the facility and I would give lessons from 5:30 to like 9 or 9:30, come home and wave to my husband as we both went to bed and just slept. And then the next day did it all over again. And it was during that time of where I was so busy and where I just kind of felt like I was giving up so much of myself in order to do this, is where I found a deeper love for the game, because I saw these athletes, all they want to do is just be successful. They want to reach that next level, whatever that next level is, they want to reach it. They want to get better. Sometimes it's through softball, sometimes it's not. But to see their drive, to see what they want to accomplish really helped me rediscover. And it's not rediscovering a love. It changed it. It helped me realize that I can do more. And then I fell into coaching high school ball. I think high school sports in general, but definitely softball, kind of gets a bad rap because you don't need to play high school softball in order to be recruited or get a scholarship. It's not necessary for that process. We have some local colleges that come to our games, but it's not the huge recruiting fest that club softball is. But I believe that high school softball and club softball really work hand in hand, because club softball is great. You practice 2 to 3 days a week. You play on the weekends. That's it. Let's play some games. Let's get you some looks and let's get you recruited. On the high school level, we practice 5 to 6 days a week. We are only playing 2 days at most. So the emphasis really is on practice. And you go to school all day, then you come to practice and you're expected to perform. It mirrors that academic-based environment that college has. I think having that experience of having an academic-based athletic experience like high school softball to help prepare you for playing at the next level is really, really important. And seeing all of that, like I had no idea that there was intricacies and everything that goes into just like playing high school softball. I just went out there to play. I didn't realize what it was preparing me for. I didn't realize all of the lessons that I was learning, because there's always a lesson. There's always a life lesson in sports, as you just said. And as a coach, I realized it from a higher level and just thought, man, this is cool. This is so cool. And to see girls play throughout high school, to see them get recruited and go to the school of their dreams, or not the school of their dreams, and they make it the school of their dreams, and they find this level of independence and self-awareness and the ability to believe in what their ambitions are, makes it that much greater. I absolutely love the sport of softball, and I feel completely honored to be able to do what I do.
I love how you described it as one of your loves. not just something. This is
Yes.
literally one of my loves.
Yes.
Okay. You're not taking this away from me. And there's the love of the game. There's a love of coaching. And then there's love of coaching the game that's effective.
Yep.
Think back, what, or rather recently or previously, what was a moment that was so validating for you on the coaching level that you're like, I needed that. That cemented me in my mind to reassure me this is what I'm meant to do. And I'm good at it. Like I'm genuinely good at it.
That's really hard for me. I'm working on imposter syndrome. Not quite in recovery yet with that. I think that imposter syndrome is a very real thing. It's really, really hard. One of my strengths that I see in myself is that I really try to find what people are really good at and then let them go be great. Let them cook, you know? I love that saying, by the way. I don't want to put somebody in a situation where I know they're going to fail. I want them to feel really supported. I want them to feel like they are set up for success. And in doing that, what I've realized is that I have to I can't have the emphasis be on me. It has to be on them because I am letting them go be great. And you can't be great if you have somebody standing over you, micromanaging everything that you do or second guessing everything that you do or like, I would have done that differently. In order to do that, I've really had to take a step back. So I see that with my current coaching staff. I've taken more of a football approach with my coaching staff where I have like an offensive coordinator who's in charge of hitting. I have a defensive coordinator who's in charge of defense. And then I work with pitchers and we all have our areas and we work well together, but I'm not going to go try to teach a defensive scheme because that's not my world. I can do it, but that's what my assistant coach is good at. There are times when I'm like, man, do people even think that I like do anything? And that's the story that I tell myself is like, well, you're not worthy of this and you're not really doing anything. Like your coaches are really doing everything. And I've really had to, first of all, to tell myself to just shut up because I'm not right. I'm not right when I say that. I am giving them the space and the confidence in them to be great. This question about like a moment. Last week, my assistant coach, Josh, who is absolutely incredible, he pushes me to be better. We hold each other accountable for our standards. I really, really appreciate everything that he brings to the table. I was on stage at the banquet. I'm on stage for like 3 hours talking and, you know, trying to make sure everybody feels seen and celebrated because we have so much to be grateful for and so much to celebrate. And I was talking about all of my coaches, but my assistant coach, Josh, was like, hey, I need the mic for a second. And he took the mic from me and he said that, you know, it's not often that a head coach gets thanked at one of these banquets because, you know, it's kind of my thing. And he just said that he recognizes the level of trust that I put in our coaches. And he even said that, you know, my strength is exactly what I just said. My strength is finding what people are good at and then letting them go do it. And he ended it by saying, this program is successful because of you. I sat there and I tried, you know, my first reaction was like, oh, thank you. You know, like I don't want to hear that, whatever. And try to deflect. But I really tried to absorb those words and I tried to really take in the compliment because it meant so much. It meant so much, especially coming from him, somebody whom I respect so much. I just really appreciated that message. I mean, it was great that it was said in front of our entire program, but so thanks, Josh. But to hear that was really validating and really made me realize more about the culture that I've tried to create and the program that I've really tried to build. And so that was incredible. I really appreciated that.
I love you sharing that with us. You know, I struggle with that too. And I think many who are watching and listening are. It is a real thing. I think part of imposter syndrome is almost like a challenge. Do you love yourself enough to not only believe you can do something, but receive the benefits of what you've done? If you're a high performer, we tend to always think of the next thing. We don't sit in the moment because we want to stay humble. We want to, not look like we're cocky or anything. But you can still be humble and still have confidence and be bold and be certain and assured and relish in what we've accomplished.
Yeah.
And I find in many times with imposter syndrome, the reason it's so strong sometimes is that we don't spend enough time sitting in our greatness. What good is it to be great if we don't sit with it and be like, look how great I am?
Yeah.
And invite other people to tell us we're great.
But I really like what you said about how imposter syndrome isn't just what we put out, but also what we receive. And I think I really like how you said that, because I do think that whether it's a compliment or whether it's feedback, that probably is the best way to overcome it. If you allow yourself a moment to really experience what somebody else is saying to you, I think is probably one of the best ways to go through it.
As someone who is watching you, you walked us through multiple chapters of your life, multiple identities that you have to this point. You were collecting rings over here. Now let's focus on another chapter. You as an entrepreneur, you indulging with your business partner Rachel on all these endeavors. And I haven't heard the story of how you all make this happen. So I would love to know. But I also want
Yes.
to premise by saying the fact that you're still evolving and doing multiple things on top of it is just another pinnacle thing of like, why would I live in a positive? Look at all the things that I'm doing. Look at all the things that I've done. You
Yeah.
know, I've been in the zone in every phase of my life. Like I'm such a BA, you know what I'm saying? So please
Well,
tell us
thank
the
you.
story of your entrepreneurship and how this all got to be.
Yeah. So as I said before, I was working in corporate and then I decided to leave and go coach, and just happened to reconnect with Rachel. So she and I both graduated from the University of Denver. We reconnected probably like 5 or 6 years after graduation, and just went out for coffee just to network and keep in touch. And Rachel and I had always, and I find this with everybody who's played team sports, especially when you've played at a high level in college. I remember the day that I met Rachel in grad school. She was like, yeah, I played lacrosse at Duke. And I was like, oh, I played softball at Boston University. We knew the expectation that we had of one another. When you meet somebody who has a similar life experience of playing at a high level, there's certain things that you know that you can expect from them. You know that they're going to be a team player. You know they're going to be dedicated. You know they're going to work really, really hard. So it was just kind of like, oh, cool. Like she was an athlete too. Like I like that. Let's get to know each other better. And so we graduated, and then a few years later we reconnected, and she had just started coaching lacrosse up at Evergreen. I was coaching at the high school level, and it just was like we just met almost to like mentor each other. I really believe in having a sounding board and having that group of people around you who will call you on things that you need to be called and help support you and help promote you. And so we kind of were that for each other. And then we found each other telling the same stories. You know, I would tell a story about a girl who I was coaching and a situation she was going through with her parents, or, you know, recruiting, or just things that would happen on the field. And we found these moments where our stories would kind of dovetail together. And we were like, wait, should we write a book? Like, I think that we could talk about confidence. I think that we could talk about leadership, and we both recognized that mental skills were such a huge void in particularly high school sports. But I found myself, you know, every conversation I was having with an athlete was about mental skills. And so, you know, let's just write a book. Let's get all of our experience down. We tried just other things because we had this message, we had this passion that we wanted to get to athletes, but we never really found the right avenue. One day Rachel was like, hey, I got an idea. I just found a deck of cards, and I just started like writing different activities that teams could do. And I was like, a deck of cards. That's kind of interesting. And so it started as just a way to get teams to talk more. We talk about team building all of the time in team sports. And really what it boils down to is that ability to be authentic and vulnerable with one another to create those connections. A lot of coaches don't really know how to do that in an efficient manner. We started this deck of cards that it's almost like truth or dare, but we changed it to chat and challenge. And so chat cards are cards that will get people talking, and challenge cards are cards that will get people, you know, doing different activities together and pushing each other to be better and being goofy and silly and laughing. And out of all of these cards came the game that we decided to call Rain Delay. And the reason for Rain Delay was, you know, as a coach, every moment of a practice is crucial. My practice plans are insane. I will go down to the very minute of what I want my practice to look like. When a rainstorm comes through, or when you have to go inside for lightning and your practice is halted, it's like, oh man, I had so much planned for today. Well, what can I do to still get something out of this? And so we called the game Rain Delay because it's like a team building coach in your bag, that if you have a rain delay, or if you have 5 minutes in practice, or, you know, a couple of times between games, let's get this game out. Let's get everybody connecting. Let's get everybody working together so that that way, even though we might not necessarily be like taking ground balls on the field, we're still creating those meaningful connections that will help a team grow down the line. One of the things that we believe is that the team that laughs together wins together. And this is a way to really get some of those moments of laughter coming through. So that's where Rain Delay came from, the game. That's like our flagship product. And then we've taken it from there. So we've got journals for athletes and coaches. Both Rachel and I have really seen the power of journaling when it comes to being present, being honest with yourself, which is a really, really important thing to do, especially as a coach, to just kind of help filter through all of the crap that goes through your mind and figure out what you really need to do in order to have the impact that you want to have. We've rolled out journals and we're working on planners and we're working on all of these other things with the goal of keeping athletes playing longer. Both Rachel and myself saw the benefit of playing team sports for as long as we did. We developed confidence, we developed leadership, we developed time management skills, all of these things that were a direct result of our athletic experience. We wouldn't be as good at those things if we hadn't played for as long as we did. So Rachel and I want to help athletes play as long as possible. And we see that coming from two different paths. First of all, we want to help coaches be as effective as they can be so that they're creating an environment where players really want to play for them. They don't have somebody who quits after 1 year, or they don't have somebody who quits in the middle of the season or something, because they're creating an environment that really fosters growth and just helps athletes be even better. So we want to help coaches. And then on the other hand, we really want to help athletes develop the mental skills that they need on and off the field so that they can, develop all of those things that we've talked about. The better experience that an athlete has, the more likelihood that they will get back into coaching when they are done playing or officiating, and that they can then give back to that sport and experience everything that I was talking about with that deepening of that love that you have for the sport, and just make the environment that much better. Our goal really is to just improve youth sports, particularly girls sports, to help everybody have a better experience and keep everybody playing longer.
If I was on Shark Tank right now, I'm sold. What a beautiful
We have talked
story.
about that actually, but I don't know if we're quite there yet. We need to have a few more sales first. So
I've had the pleasure to interview Rachel, and I've interviewed you. Maybe we need to do a one with both of you on
yeah,
together. That'd probably be a really great dynamic.
yeah,
But I love that it's called Rain Delay and the story behind it. I'm like, man, like, pause. When can we use this moment instead of just being just mind boggling, just out of nowhere,
yep,
to effectively make those connections that you might not have done otherwise? And those connections leave those breadcrumbs that stack up.
yep,
And at some points, is that journey. There's certain people in your life after working with them, you know how this is. After so long, you almost can make this look. No words are said. You just know what to do.
yep,
And you trust the other person to read the information, interpret it, and do what you need to do to win the game. But
yep,
let's talk about win the game of life. Like, this feels like something that can be applicable to, hey, there's a thunderstorm, family. Let's come together. Let's chat and challenge. Hey, in the workforce, it's like, the teams are off their game, the performance this month. How about we just take some time to chat and challenge? Let's force a rain delay.
yep.
Let's force. Sometimes we need a rain delay in our lives. Let's be real. So
I
I
like that.
love that. I love that a lot. You can all permission to use that, mama marketer, so you can use that however you want, for sure. And I also love that you also thought about the journals. I think people
Mhm,
sometimes, when they've never journaled before, there's an artistry to writing something down, getting off your brain and making it real on paper,
yep,
and then having the ability to go back to it and look at it, even touch the inscription if you need to, and just sit with those emotions and those thoughts. So I'm excited for the variety of new products that are going to come from
thanks.
this product
Yeah.
line. It seems like you all have thought this through so well. But I guess I'll ask you this in reflection of this. When you both started with this little thing of an idea, and now here it is now, like, how does that feel for someone who's never experienced creating something from nothing and make it tangible that someone else can experience? What does that feel like when you've done that?
Incredible. And I think that almost ties together the entire conversation, because whether you're building a program and you see your team experience success on the field, or you have a book that has your name on it and it's this real tangible thing, and you go to Amazon and there are reviews about a book that you created, or this amazingly kind of quirky idea of a card game that nobody's really thought of yet. And there you have it in your hand and you're able to give it to somebody and have somebody go, oh, I'm going to play this. Like, this is great. We really need something like this. It's so validating and it's so rewarding if you allow it to be, because it goes back to what we were talking about, that sense of humility. And like, I don't want to come off as cocky. And so it's like, oh, okay, well, just if you have the time, or, it's, yeah, our team was pretty good, but, we could do better. To really sit in that moment of praise and be proud of yourself, I think is something that is really missing right now. It is really, really cool to be like, oh man, we created this. Like, we created this. This was nothing before and now it's something. And what can we do with it to make it even bigger? I think it's been an absolutely rewarding experience. To do it with somebody as awesome as Rachel has been fantastic. I'm very fortunate that the people who are in my life, who aren't my family, I guess my chosen family, I feel really, really lucky to be able to call them my friends, to be able to call them my colleagues, and I'm so grateful for the impact that they have had on me. And it just is, I'm so damn lucky.
I will say this. I know I'm supposed to be the host of this experience, but I tell you, there's been multiple times I've been borderline teary-eyed. Like, I might have had to do a rain delay myself as we've been engulfed in this journey. So to kind of bring it all together, but also almost an exercise, if you will. So imagine you as your rookie year being able to watch this experience of you talking right now. How do you think that Liz would feel watching this?
Oh man. That is, that's very funny. I don't know if she would believe it. I was very, when I was growing up, I was very steadfast that I didn't ever want to get married. I didn't ever want to have kids. And like, I was going to accomplish, I was going to be this high paid career woman who just conquered the world. And I think that she would be really surprised at where I am now, but also really proud at the fact that I'm still doing exactly what she wanted me to do. One of my prior coaching experiences was at a rival high school who I grew up not liking very much. And one thing about me is I'm incredibly loyal to my schools, and it was very difficult to coach for this school because I did not like them at all. And my husband took a picture of me. My husband, whom on our second date, I told him I was never going to get married. We wound up getting married. But I'm sitting here in this picture. I'm holding a baby, and you can see my wedding ring, and you can see the shirt of the school that I hated growing up. And he was like, "Man, have things changed for you?" And and I look at that picture, and it has taught me to be open to experiences, to be open to where life takes you, to pay attention to the signs and pay attention to where you're being called, and to never take any opportunity for granted, and to not close yourself off to things. If I would have been like, oh, I'm not going to coach there. I hate that school. I would have missed out on so many opportunities, so many people that I wouldn't have met, and eventually the head coaching opportunity that opened up for me at a different school. I think that 18-year-old me would be really proud of the choices that I have made and the paths that I have taken. And even though it doesn't exactly look like penthouse apartment in Paris, which was on my list, it's even better. And I'm really, again, I feel so lucky, and I'm so grateful for everything that I've been able to do.
Would this be considered like a chat version of the rain delay? Like, do we have a
I know.
connection moment right
I
now?
think
Like,
so.
did
I
I
think
do it
so.
right?
And that's what it's all about. Like, how great is that? I mean, and we're, again, like, we're so lucky to be able to meet people and hear their stories, and just, you don't, I think it's so important. I think it's so important to make those personal connections. People are amazing, and I don't think that we give people enough credit. And I would talk to anybody. So it has been so nice to be able to talk to you and be able to make this connection.
Yes. And I will say this, I think you still achieved what your 19-year-old self thought of conquering the world,
Mhm.
because you're creating connection
Yeah.
through you and all the different avenues that you're currently conquering and all the future ones down the road.
Yeah.
So we thank you for sharing your light
Thank
and
you.
your stories and your aura and your vividness of what the zone looks like with us. We've navigated imposter syndrome. We've navigated how to juggle multiple identities. And also, it just comes back down to do the things that you feel you're meant to do, and it will reveal itself.
Mhm.
There's times you just got to trust yourself, even if maybe you're having an off game, you still can get that home run.
Yep. Yep.
So
So
thank
well
you,
said.
Liz.
Thank
We
you. Thank
appreciate
you so much,
you.
Troy. Thank you.